Mark 1:12 gives us two great examples of how difficult it can be to translate a word when the different translations really produce a different meaning. So it's after Jesus' temptation, and the text says, and Euthus, the Spirit, drives him into the desert. Well, what does Euthus mean? Well, you can see it's immediately. The NIV says at once. Net is immediately, and the NLT is then. Well, was it immediate, or was it then in the sense of, well, that was the next thing that happened? Well, it depends upon how you want to translate Euthus. So the dominant meaning we all learned for Euthus in First Year Greek was it means immediately. In other words, it's the very next thing that happens, and it happens right away. And this is where BDAG puts our verse. However, Euthus also can be weakened to simply the sense of then or so then. In fact, Euthus occurs 11 times in the first chapter of Mark. And I still remember being taught in first year New Testament survey that Mark is written to the Roman church, and he wanted to present Jesus as a man of action that would appeal to the Romans. And so he has Jesus doing something immediately, and then immediately, and then immediately. And of course, the problem then is that's not what Euthus always means. It can mean immediately, but it can also mean, well, the next thing that he did. And you have to decide how to translate that in Mark 1:12. And you can see how the NLT has gone with the simple, the next thing that happened then. Both are accurate translations. Which one fits? The more interesting one, though, I think, is ekbale. So in the NASB, it says the Spirit brought Jesus out into the wilderness. ESV drove Jesus out into the wilderness. Really? The Holy Spirit had to drive Jesus to do something that God wanted him to do? That sounds odd. NRSV drove. NIV weakens it to sent. Net is drove. NLT is kind of this middle position of compelled. So what's going on? Well, if you look at ekbalo, you can see that its first definition is to force someone to do something, to drive them out, expel. And again, that's where BDAG puts our verse. But as you go down through the options, to cause to go remove from a position without force. In other words, you can send someone out or away to release or to bring out. And there's no idea of compulsion, that they had to do it. And they list our verse here as another possible category. So how are you going to translate ekbale? Well, there's just no way in my mind that the Holy Spirit forced Jesus to do something he didn't want to do. And to drive him out simply makes no sense. Check the CSB as well, and they have drove. That's unfortunate. Jesus wasn't driven to do something he didn't want to do. But the Spirit certainly led him to the next stage of his ministry. But that's the joy of translating words that have more than one meaning. What do you think these two words should be translated as?